Hi, I'm Danica Tormolen with Informa Connect, and I'm joined today by Martha Donato. Welcome, Martha.
Hi, Danica. Thanks for inviting me today.
We're going to talk about the Sustainable Event Summit that was held last week as part of the Nest Climate Campus at Javits in New York City. And it is the second year for the event. Martha, just tell us a little bit about the origin story first of this event. It started last year, you grew on it this year. So tell us a little bit about why you launched it.
Yeah, thanks, Danica. I appreciate the opportunity. So last year we came to do this meeting, same with the Nest Climate Campus, because of our close relationship with UFI and the Joint Meeting Industry Council, who are the owners of the Net Carbon Zero Event Pledge to lower our carbon emissions with a plan, with a roadmap. And last year we did this in close collaboration with them. And around the Nest Climate Campus, the same model where we had a co-hosted event. The Nest campus at Javits is very generous in offering groups who are very sustainability minded to take these co-hosted events and produce small group meetings within. So anyone who attended the Nest Climate Campus could also go into various different co-hosted meetings that were happening and find out more, learn. Education is really an interesting concept. Last year we had about 40 people and we did ours as a think tank and it worked out very well. We did invitation only, and it was very engaging, very high level discussion, mostly, Danica, centered around that we were a little overwhelmed at the concept of what we had to do as a group.
Yeah. And how many did you have then this year? Were you able to build upon that 40 number from last year?
Yeah, this year we had 68 people. So I count that as pretty good growth year over year. I'm very pleased with it. And the same differentiation by sector, right? So what we've done is have 5 different groups. We started it last year, we continued it this year. So we had show organizers, we had general contractors, we had service providers like AV companies, Emerald Carpet, for example, and we had education. So we had Susan Austin from American Express Global Business Travel, for example. She's giving us a very high level view of corporate travel and corporate leisure travel, which is really important to us in our sector, right? The travel piece represents our biggest carbon emissions as a group. And so she shares some oversights with us. And then we had really good support from IAEE, from CISO, again from UFI, and from ESCA. Julie Kagi was there and she led a roundtable with the general contractors on their role in the process. It's a really nice way. What we did is we switched between what you would consider formal traditional content panelists, and but then we broke out into groups and we did Q&A, which was very active. And then at the end, we broke up by industry sector, the 5 I just explained, and they went into a deep dive. They took in all the information and then they discussed how they could implement it within their sector. And then at the end, we had a representative from each table go on stage and share their sort of top 3 or 4 bullet points.
What stands out to you from what they shared? What were some of your takeaways from each of those different groups that maybe stands out top of mind to you?
Yeah, I think last year we were all unsure of how to move forward. And the Net Carbon Zero Event Initiative was front and center in terms of what we were talking about. And we were all a little confused about how to move with it. But in the meantime, they've issued guidance. And so this year we were able to dive in much more on, okay, we need to establish our baseline for each event, and then we need to measure it, and then we need to report it. And it seems much less intimidating when it's broken down like that. And we did have Reduce 2, Glenn Hansen. He left BPA after a long career and he started this measurement company that he calls Reduce 2. And they're actually producing the report for the Sustainable Event Summit. So Glenn will take in all the data. He'll gather data from the Javits Center in terms of what was our electrical usage, it's our waste, et cetera. And then he'll issue a report that we'll share with the group. So we felt this year like we had more actionable things. We understood better what we needed to do. And as a group and with the collaboration, we understand how to move forward, even though it's a long road. And I think Lori Jenks from Access Intelligent said it most clearly. She said, I have a 2 to 3 year plan. I don't have a 10-year plan. When I finish my year 2, I'll assess and then we'll make our next. We're going to go in 2-year segments, 3-year segments. We can't jump that far ahead because of a lot of factors that are out of our control. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. Mark Bogdansky from the Auto Care Association, he spoke about how he really wanted his 2 events to be much more sustainable. And at first he was a little worried about how he'd get started, but then he realized he was doing a lot of things already. And all he had to do was formalize processes and communicate to exhibitors, for example. And so it didn't feel as daunting.
2030 will be here before you know it. That's for sure.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly.
And to reach those kind of goals. It is a growth, and it seemed
It
probably
is.
far away when it was first. It's 2030 sounded
Yes.
like forever away, but yes, there are those guidelines, and we will include a link to those in our show notes and also our story. So if anybody wants to access those for a resource, they are helpful. I was thinking about one thing that you said. So you had the woman from Amex come and give an overview on corporate travel. And so, what was one of your takeaways from that session that really resonated with you, thinking about sustainability and that our carbon footprint is really, most events, the biggest carbon footprint is from air travel typically?
Yeah, that's a good question, Danica. And I think where I would land, everybody listens to a presentation like that and picks out a different nugget that is meaningful to them. And for me, it was around the idea that we travel anyway as business professionals. If we can aggregate our travel through going to a large scale trade show or even a conference, and we can take multiple business meetings and meet suppliers and do our business while we're at a meeting, that our carbon footprint is the same, but it's spread over multiple opportunities and therefore making it more important to be at meetings, right? So she shared a couple of stats there, and I'm happy to provide the link. She had a really nice deck, and I can send it to you. But that's one of the bullet points is we can show that we are more sustainable when we're going to a meeting in the way that we go to meetings, right? Trade shows and conferences. So I really was very pleased to see that they were measuring that as well. Susan Austin is the principal of American Express Global Business Travel, and she brought 2 members of her meetings and events team, which, as you can imagine, American Express is exhibiting and sending attendees and doing their own meetings all over the world. And it's a really big part of their own measurement. So she had her people in the room also, which I found really helpful to get their viewpoint as well.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure they're one of the biggest attendees and exhibitors and producers of events as well, which
Exactly.
is what this meeting is all about. Tell us about the new Zero Award that you launched this year and gave to Alan Steele, who is the president and CEO of Javits, who will be retiring here pretty soon.
Yeah, big news in the industry that Alan's stepping down. And it seemed like just a natural fit. We had been talking since last year about having some awards because people really are doing good work, really good work, and to bring some more visibility to it and let them share their stories, because in collaboration, we're all going to be better off. And when we got the news that Alan was retiring, we immediately started putting together the idea of what's the best way for us as an industry. Alan sits outside of one sector, right? He's been a show organizer a lot of his career, and then he went in and he's running a very important venue. So he spans a lot of the industry for us. And so that was the reason for selecting him. But then when you dive in and see the work that he's done at the Javits Center, it's spectacular. And the best way we could think to honor him, besides the obvious of public recognition for what he's done, we planted a tree in the garden and we put a permanent stake in the ground with the information about Alan, and that it was a recognition from his peers for the work he had done. And we had a lovely, really simple ceremony in the garden. And I think a lot of people really were appreciative of being there and seeing him be able to accept the award in person. So we had a really nice group of people there as well.
I saw that on LinkedIn and I made a comment to Alan in terms of I saw, so it was a fig tree, right, that you
It was a
planted
big,
and it will live on even after. And I
yeah,
shouldn't necessarily, maybe the right terminology might not be retire, but he is stepping down from his
yeah,
role at Javits. So whether he does something else or not we'll see what that story,
we'll
how that
see.
unfolds in the future. But I shouldn't assume retirement.
That's true. Good point. That's a
Yeah.
very good point. I think when we worked with the Brooklyn Grange, who are the folks who manage the rooftop garden at Javits, they couldn't have been more helpful. They helped us identify a tree that will meet all the criteria, right? It will attract birds and it will produce fruit that they will actually use in the preparation at Javits. So Cultivated is their catering company, and they actually harvest the fruits and vegetables from the garden and they use them. And so that story of the circular economy, and that everything has a life cycle. And if we're thoughtful about it, we can create really positive momentum and change. And I think Alan and the Javits Center really embody that whole process and that thought. And it doesn't have to be a large scale endeavor. You can start small.
And Javits is definitely, I should highlight for our listeners here that Javits has been on the forefront of all venues in the US and really globally in terms of their sustainability efforts with their garden. Up on the top, they have honey that they
That's
use,
right.
things that are
That's
used
right.
in their menus on a regular basis. And then the windows that protect birds from flying into, just so many different, there's a long list. Those are like two minor points that I'm touching on, but really a leader in this space. Congratulations to Alan on that award.
Yes, I agree. Congratulations to Alan and all of his team. They really did a remarkable job.
So sustainable events is part one sector in the Nest Climate Campus. Did you walk around to the rest of the campus and check out some of those things? It got so much press all around the globe. A sustainability conference in New York City as part of the UN and all the things that were going on last week. So tell us about what that was like, being a part of that.
They were killing it there. There were so many people wandering about. They had an exhibition area and it was very experiential. And so there were people walking through there. And I did come back the next day. So we had our program, and then the next day we went back. And Bill Nye, the science guy, was giving a talk when we were there. And they have this amazing main stage with really important leaders speaking about sustainability. But then just take, for example, Italian Exhibition Group, IEG, they had a Sustainable Italy booth, and they were talking about their Ecomundo show that they do, which is in our sector, obviously. And so it just, a lot of things really tied off, walking around the next day and seeing all the people doing good work. It's really inspirational to be there. They're doing a phenomenal job at Nest Climate Campus.
And you said that one, we think it launched around 5 years ago, maybe in 2019. It's not even that old of an event either, and
No, it's
has
not.
really picked up momentum.
Yes, it has. I think partially because during the pandemic years, they took it to a virtual program, which was really smart. They kept their momentum going. And I can see it's going to keep growing for a long time to come.
So tell me about the future for next year. Now that you have finished this event, what are some of the lessons that you learned and experiences gained that you're going to use into planning for next year?
Yeah, I think that we will do it again in the same format next year. And the momentum's good. We have some issues that are not to be taken lightly. Being in New York during UN General Assembly and New York Climate Week is really challenging, in terms of being able to move around the city and being able to find a hotel. The demand on the city's extreme during that week. But all that being said, it also represents a really big opportunity. Anyone who really cares about sustainability and wants to invest in their education, That's the best time. There were 900 events around Climate Week happening, staged in New York last week. So you could throw a stone and find another place to go. And several of the people who came to Sustainable Event Summit did attend other events as well. And they all commented back to me that it's just mind blowing how much good work is happening. And if you just scratch a little below the surface, you can find people are very open and they're willing to share. And so it's a really nice atmosphere.
To be part of that is a real feat. So, congratulations on that. I want to just outline for people, and I'll include this in the story, but not quite a full day of education
No, it was
and the
on,
roundtables, Q&A, etc.,
yeah.
and to kick off the week.
Exactly. It was Tuesday, the 24th, which was the opening day for the Nest Climate Campus. It was day one. And then after the formal programs of the day ended, they had a really lovely reception that was open to everyone who attended. And the Nest Climate Campus is a free event. You only need to register, and then you can attend all the meetings and all their education for 3 days. So it's a good one to put on your calendar for next year.
I didn't realize that it was free to register for anybody. Wow,
Yes,
that's pretty incredible.
yeah, that's why they call it a campus. They want it to be very open
Like a
and idea
school.
sharing and education.
I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to share what the experience was like for this year's event and wish you luck for 2025.
Thanks, Danica. I appreciate it.